Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Go Get It podcast with Rob Butler. This week's guest is Bailey Dougherty. Bailey Dougherty is the head of people and product at Gale Advertising and Marketing. She's recently rejoined the business that she fell in love with a number of years ago. She's also going to share with us the three most important things someone looking to get into a similar industry such as hers, or simply progress their career, should be thinking about along the way. If you like the sounds of it, why don't you stick with us and let's go get it. Let's go. Let's get it. Okay, Bailey. Well, let's kick it off. So just for the viewers, for those that may not know how we would have met originally, most won't, what comes to mind? What's something that you would share with the audience in terms of first memories and where we would have overlapped in our personal lives?
Okay, first memory. The University of Western Ontario, Huron College. I think my first memory would be you in the food court. Being very...
Okay.
Why? Because you always had a lot to say. You would sit there and always engage with everybody as they walked by. Like you were just like the friendliest person, and you would like always like in the first couple of weeks try and introduce yourself. You were very formal. I remember you being very formal and like very like organized and introducing yourself. And then fast forward a couple of months, we both joined the Western ski team. And I think that is really kind of where our friendship grew from there, and where we made some of our best friends, and I've met my husband. So the Western ski team was really the core to it.
There's so much history there, and so many of the guests on the podcast, whether it's through university or skiing, there's some connection and overlap through that group, and many of them did end up getting married to different people that we knew, which is very fun. But what's funny about that is I remember yes, same time of like university, first couple of weeks, and it sounds hilarious that I was sitting in the food court. Well, I sound like a Walmart greeter is what I was for the food court. Which is hilarious. Maybe that is what I'll do actually in my retirement years. But no, what I remember is you and your girlfriend Margie being like a Calgary contingent, which one was very different from anything that I'd grown up around. Ironically, now I do live in Calgary, but so maybe that was it. That was, you'd planted the seed on sparking some interest in moving out west. But at the time, I remember the two of you living, not only coming from Calgary, but also living in some residents that I didn't even know existed in the forest. Like, and you would walk out of the forest in the morning and I'd be like, I don't know where these people are coming from, but there's apparently something back in the book.
It was
what am I
the
talking
old
about?
Roddy residence that we got. You got the nice new one, and the Calgary girls got the old Roddy one.
How did you guys did you request that one?
No.
You said, I want something with no view in the forest where it's really difficult to socialize with people. Is that what you were after?
No, but we had each other. We had each other.
True. And then, yes, through the ski team then, and you were such a hard worker at school. I'm sure, hopefully it was through osmosis. I would watch you when you're studying and you guys working really hard, and maybe I learned some etiquette and how to prepare for exams from there. There's probably something to that as well.
Yeah, I would say a positive and a negative to myself is how hard I work.
Well, it carries over to what you're doing now, and you're going to bring us up to speed on when I invited you originally. In my head, I always think, yes, I know recently in the banking piece, and there was some exposure there, which we can talk about, but I think of you as a marketing and advertising person. So correct me if I'm wrong, but can we just talk about that? You're coming out of university. You're not moving back to Calgary, I don't think. You're moving into Toronto, probably right out of undergrad. Talk us through that. What did it look like, and what were you looking to pursue at the time?
Yeah. So I graduated university and I was determined to be a sports agent. I really wanted to be a sports agent, and I had met with the head of IMG. At the time, I'm like, I just want to clarify, this was in the early 2000s, and in true transparency, he said to me, listen, a female's not going to make it in this business as a true sports agent. So I suggest you move on to something else. So I did. And I had, out of pure luck, I was introduced to a partner at an agency, and he had offered me a job. And at this time, it was kind of an experiential agency, which was, big events and sponsorships. And I had landed an amazing job, at 23 years old, knowing nobody in the city besides my friends from university. And there's somebody that was at the agency that you grew up with. You and Justin grew up with, Lindsay Ferguson. And the two of us spent.
I forgot that connection.
I worked at this agency for 12 years. So, same clients for 12 years. Amazing opportunity to grow an agency from, the very first job. Worked my tail off. I'm telling you, 70, 80 hours a week between events, client meetings, presentations, and, change in leadership, just over 12 years allowed me to kind of go and do something else, kind of in the PR world, which was still in the marketing and agency world.
Can you just define, when you use the word agency, what does that exactly mean in layman's terms to somebody that's, anyways, pursuing something similar to yours? But can you define what that is?
Yeah. So an agency, there's groups of agencies, and often they're called, there is, we call them marketing agencies, ad agencies, PR agencies, and these are, companies that bring in clients and do phenomenal work for them. And there are groups of agencies. So there are big holding companies that own multiple agencies. There's agencies that combine to become one bigger agency. So it's like, as we say, different banks, these are different agencies that have different competencies.
So that's like the umbrella term, and it includes different groups within it, covering advertising, marketing, and they're for hire.
Yeah. Okay. So media, advertising, all the different marketing activities can be under one agency, or certain agencies can be specialized in different, like you could only be an ad agency, or you can only be a media agency. So it all depends on, what your interest is or what the owners want to do.
Got it. Okay, great.
Okay.
Sorry. So then you were through the agency group, and then you must have been presented with a new opportunity.
Yeah. So I kind of moved just through two agencies. And in my second agency, I, as you are aware, was diagnosed with cancer at 36. And it just really took me to a realization, even though I worked through my prognosis and you worked through chemo and everything, I needed a break. And about 3 months, I got a huge opportunity to work at a different kind of agency, and it was known as a business consultancy. And it was more of, how are we looking at business problems? And was not just about a piece of creative. It wasn't just about, the right campaign. It was really understanding a business problem and then determining the best marketing tactics to solve that business problem. So it was a new way of looking, kind of a business consultancy with the whole form of media marketing behind it. And it was transformative. We had the biggest clients in the world. It was unbelievable. And the experience I got kind of sitting in the boardrooms, understanding the data behind clients' businesses, how we could build, campaigns, or we could build different types of programs that would really drive business outcomes, and we could see the business increasing, was phenomenal. Then kind of fast forward 4 years, I was given an opportunity in a phenomenal artificial intelligence company for the financial sector. We are at the core understanding data in transactional documentation, really understanding the data in trading docs, and that there's so much intelligence inside of document that the trading floors are unaware of, and pulling up that data. And so I've had the privilege leading all implementations of a product called Arteria into the biggest financial institutions in the world.
I get the impression that you were covering large institutions in the US as it related to that product?
Yeah. So we cover probably the biggest banks in the world, with offices I am based in Toronto, but when you are dealing with, the GSIBs that we deal with, you are in New York, in London, in Paris, around the world, which has been amazing.
And what was the skill set that I'm going off topic, but that you think you had that allowed you to transition from the agency side to more of a product and not maybe development, but selling that into a new sector for yourself?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Our CEO saw something in me that was different. And it was my ability to engage with clients and build those relationships with clients and motivate a team. In your 40s and changing your career path is something most people don't do. And I chose to do it. And I'm proud that I did it and I learned something. But I also, I am moving back to the agency world because I think I know where my passion lies now. But I think it took me having that opportunity to kind of change my direction and try something new gave me some amazing new skills, including, learning how a startup works, getting your Series B, doing all those, amazing startup things. But I also feel my passion is with people and the agency world.
Now, not to get overly personal, but with the health piece that you'd highlighted a minute ago, do you think that you draw upon what you were having to work through and your stamina to be able to do that, to take on, again, I don't know if it's totally, correlated between the two, but do you think some of those experiences would have translated to you being able to take the leap into a new product line, as you said, into a newer industry? Do you draw from any of those experiences?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I learned we are not saving lives unless you're a doctor. We are not saving lives. And as serious as I've taken every job I've had, it gave me a view that, you can take risks and you can take chances because of my work ethic and, how passionate I am about things I can do. If I was going to do great, I was going to do great. And if I was going to fail, I was going to fail. But it's okay because, there are our health and our lives and our family are really what the most important thing. And I think it was worth trying something new and really getting the experience that I got. So, yeah.
Okay. So you've accumulated all of this experience. You've gone through and overcome very successfully health hurdles. You've got an awesome family. So knowing all of this and someone that says, I want to be just like Bailey Dougherty, what are the 3 things you'd recommend somebody coming out of school for the first time that either just need a spark to get some direction and some motivation in terms of what they should be working toward and how to achieve it, or somebody that's potentially halfway through their career and they need some guidance and they're just looking for an idea or a reset of sorts, even in their existing role? So what are some of the things that come to mind? What would you like to share with that type of audience?
Yeah, I would always say, and this is, often when I talk about also in interviews, number one is to keep your curiosity. I think people can get pretty complacent. And for me, it was always striving for learning, always learning. And that curiosity of, what is the newest technology or what can save me more time or, seeing what motivates me at work, understanding what other roles people are doing so I can support them. I think it's the consistent learning. People get complacent and then they lose motivation for what they're doing. So I think that's the number one thing.
Natural though? Or do you sit there and say, you know what, I need to stay curious to stay ahead of my competition or to stay relevant? Or do you genuinely have interest, like a natural desire to do that?
I have a natural desire to stay motivated. So I think that's the thing. If I don't continue to get excited or learn new things or bring new ideas to where I am, I kind of lose my motivation. And so I think the curiosity has supported my career growth because I'm constantly kind of striving for the next best thing or really bringing the ideas, not only to clients, but to the internal teams of what can we do?
When you're on the agency side, how much of your time is spent looking outside of the box and trying to come up with something that they may not have thought of, how to position a product, how to brand or message a particular service? Am I in the right?
Oh vein? Yeah, that is a lot. Most of our time, you in the kind of the agency and marketing world, it is how relevant can you be? And I think from the start of my career to the where I am today, you used to put a piece of creative in store on an aisle and that would sell everything. And now you look at where we are in even podcasting, in social media, in digital media, in the text messages you're getting, depending on what store you're walking into,
right.
How you engage with consumers has completely changed. And so it is, how are you staying relevant, and what is the technology? What are those streams that you can get to people to deliver the right message at the right time? So I think, yeah, you're always having to think not only what is the stream to get that message out, but what is the message that's going to resonate with that consumer to drive your product sale.
And then the curiosity piece sounds like it translates really well into that thought process and your approach to work every day. I would just think it'd be a natural fit. Okay, so now you're moving into the second most important thing that you'd share with an audience looking to pursue a career in your industry.
I'd say grit. If I have one word for people, it is showing grit, and that it's just not giving up. And I think this comes in any position you're in, because we are told no a lot, or we are told that idea is not going to work, or we fail. And the grit is just figuring out a path and solving a problem or finding a way. Grit doesn't come naturally to most. It is something you have to focus and learn to do because you want success. And that, to me, grit just comes, you work so hard, or you're determined, and that determination is brought on by having the grit to get you there. I think this goes kind of anywhere, not only your career, it goes in your life. It goes into how I make meals. I'm determined to deliver the best food for my family sometimes. I just think grit is something that is a critical characteristic in your career.
When you think about grit, you said one thing that stood out to me. So you're surrounded by other talented individuals at work. There's lots of big personalities. They say to you, Bailey, that's not going to work, or you're out of your mind. How do you decipher that they're right, or that you need to buckle up and stick to your instinct and move ahead with what it is that you have in mind? I know this may be more of a psychology or philosophy question, but do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I feel that you always need to kind of listen to other people's opinions, and everyone's opinions are going to be, you could both be right. I think it is the data. To me, it's always, what's the proof to everyone has an opinion. What is the proof for your opinion? It's not just sometimes your thoughts. It is the data behind what you're saying. The grit for me comes to, somebody says something's not possible, I'm going to prove to them how it's possible. I think that is my way. And especially in the technology world right now, things break, things happen. How do we all work overnight to fix it? And no one knows that there's been a problem. There's just grit and determination in making things work. And that kind of has come across my entire life in careers is, in the big experiential and event world, something didn't show up and you were supposed to have a big event, and I would just run into all stores and buy it all and, set it all up. It is, if something is not working, how do you stay up and get it done? Or how do you, find all the resources to bring in to deliver the timeline that you said? And I think thinking outside of the box in a way that really gets gets to the outcome you want to. I think people give up too easily. It's my belief. I think people give up too easily. And I think you got to be determined to get to your goal.
When you're interviewing new candidates for any of the business you've been associated with, how quickly can you determine if they have grit or demonstrate characteristics or quality traits that would allow them to be that type of person? Is that something you can pick up on in an interview?
Yeah, I think I can, because it is probably one of my number one things I look for. I ask them probably what has been their toughest work situation, what has been a fire for them, and how have they managed it. It's more about the steps of how they manage it, but it's also their mind frame. To me, it's about a mind frame. All of us in every career, you're going to have your ups and you're going to have your downs. It is how calm and how determined can you be while you're down versus how deflated and you want to give up. And I think that, to me, is the gritty part of it all.
So we have people that we're encouraging to have grit, or at least look to put themselves out of their comfort zone. If most people don't bring that to the table, just know that nothing feels great all the time. You need to
nothing
step up and you got to wear it sometimes. And alongside the curiosity piece, so those two qualities being and behavioral items are really important to pursuing your type of career. And what would the third most important thing that stands out to you?
I would say trust your gut. And I know that this is a tough one, and this comes with time. And so I think this is more for people kind of looking to switch industries or, try something new kind of later in their career, or even when you're starting out your career.
Right. If
you started something and it just doesn't feel right, like trust your gut, or, a decision has been made. There's so many times I've gone back and said, you know what, I knew that was going to be a problem and I didn't speak up, or I knew this should have been delivered a bit earlier, or I knew I should have called that client, the day before. It's just, we all have this. It's not just a mother intuition. It is anybody that has a heart, a beating heart, has this intuition of, what we should do. To me, that is really trust it, because you're going to see that your body is telling you what is right and what is wrong. And sometimes you got to trust your gut versus, listening to other people and their opinions.
It's so hard, Bailey. And as you get more successful or become more successful in your career, certainly at a bigger corporation, the number of people that have opinions, I find also grows alongside yours. And I just find that an interesting situation to have to navigate. And I'm sure all big corporations are similar that way. Mm-hmm. One thing that someone said to me once was, you need to narrow down the number of people that you can, not that you can trust, but that you can actually rely on for critical feedback as it relates to you personally, rather than trying to look for information or feedback from a dozen people. Find the 3 or 4 people that you know consistently, not that they always agree with you, but that you can rely on for very concise, clear, rational feedback based on whatever it is you're looking to talk about topic-wise. Does that make any sense? Does that resonate in your experience?
No, 100%. You have to have your trusted advisors. And I think that is just something of getting honest feedback. It's really good to work with people that you don't agree with, because it really then breaks the shift of always all having the same idea and really bringing greatness out when you kind of, everyone has varying opinions and finding the best solution for that.
Right. Okay. So you've covered all my formal stuff. Now, outside of the 3 things you'd recommend, what is something that you're super proud of that you've accomplished for yourself in the last 15 years in your career? What's one highlight or one thing that really stands out to you that you're comfortable sharing?
I think I'm really proud that I left the agency world and took a totally different realm of job that showed that I have the ability to switch industries. So I think that is something that most people are very afraid to do, that my skills were able to manage that and shift it, and that I could learn what I was passionate about. So I think it's really, I say this to my husband all the time. I do not regret leaving the agency world whatsoever, because I would not get the experiences that I got, that I have, that I've been getting. Making a change is some of the, it's crazy and it's hard, and it was amazing. But it really gives you clarity on kind of where you should be and what you should be kind of doing later in your career.
Well, I remember vividly when it was, I think maybe weeks before you were going to make that change. You seemed super enthusiastic at the time, but also nervous from what I remember.
Yeah.
So I remember that quite well. And here we are 3.5 years later, and you've had a wonderful experience doing it. And then when you say you tell your husband these things, I'm trying to picture what hole he's on up at his golf course while you're sharing this update with him. So
yeah, it's true. It's true.
I love it.
I'm surprised he's not on the Canadian, whatever.
Well, you would think
Canadian.
he should be, but he's not Molson Canadian, maybe. I don't know. Either way, bad dad joke. And thank you. Yeah.
No, it's true.
Yes, it's true. Bailey, thank you so much for joining us. You're off the hook. There's your half an hour on the Go Get It podcast. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. I honestly love seeing you.
Let's go. Hey, this is Rob Butler on the Go Get It podcast. Thanks very much for joining us today. We appreciate you listening to what it is we can bring to your career evolution. And if you liked our guest, feel free to 1, follow us, and 2, put a question in the reel, and hopefully our interviewee can respond to that question directly. With that, I'd like to encourage you to join us on next week's edition on the Go Get It podcast. Thanks again.